So, even up until a few short weeks ago, you guys, I was fully committed to selling our 2003 Triumph Daytona 955i. Believe it or not, we've already had it for a year, and it needed some work doing. It needed 2 new tyres, it needed all the indicators replacing, and a few other bits and pieces. It still needs an oil and filter change. But in that time, in that process of getting this bike back up and running again, I've fallen in love with it all over again. And so in today's video, we're going to go through the process of preparing the bike for its MOT, getting it back on the road again, and also why I have this renewed passion for this motorcycle. So let's jump on and let's go. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because of the 2 new tyres, it's just made it that little bit better to ride, because I mean, I don't know how old the previous tyres were, but there's something nice, there's something that changes when you get 2 brand new tyres on a bike, especially on a super sport. How you just feels like you got loads of extra grip and loads of extra confidence in the bike, and you just feel like you can throw it into the ride more so than you ever did before. But yeah, we're only going to be keeping this bike for another year, you guys. I think at that point I probably would have had enough time with this bike to thoroughly enjoy it and to put some serious miles on it, which unfortunately over this last year I haven't really had the opportunity to do, even though whenever I ride this bike I'm like, why don't I ride this bike more often? It's so good. Having 2 new tyres on the bike has really given me renewed confidence in the bike and how it handles. And these tyres are just like all-round tyres. They're not sport tyres or anything like that. They're more sport touring tyres, but they're really good. And yeah, they did cost me a pretty penny getting them fitted, as I did originally want to fit my own tyres to this bike. I even bought all the kit and everything to do that. So that was going to be the plan, but then its MOT expired. My wife and we went on holiday, and I didn't have enough time for when the MOT was booked in. I just didn't have enough time to learn the process and do all that myself. I mean, probably for the best anyway, with all the other work that I had to do on the bike. But yeah, you guys, I don't know why, but working on this bike was really charming. Taking the fairing off was really easy, and I was just like, you know what, this is such a great bike. What am I doing giving it up? And yeah, then it passed its MOT, and then I started riding it again, and I was like, nah, I've got to keep this bike at least for 1 more year anyway. And so, I mean, that's what I decided to do, you guys. I think keeping this bike for another year was probably a good call, and I can be quite selfish about it now because we have the demo bikes from Fraser's and other partners. There's not as much pressure to swap bikes out as often as I used to, because I mean, that was the only way that I could feature new bikes on the channel, was to physically buy them myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, you guys, in the last year, alright, just 2025 alone, we have already bought 2 new bikes. We bought the FZ6, the Yamaha FZ6, and we've bought the MT-09. So we are still buying and selling bikes on a frequent basis, but there's just something that's really charming about this bike. And look, you guys, it's not producing the most amount of power, it's not the most nimble. I mean, to be fair though, for its age, it's very nimble. If there's one thing this bike is good at, is in the twisties. But it's got torque all the way through the rev range, and power all the way through the rev range, so you're not missing out on any performance. And it just, for me, if it's a super sport that you're looking to buy, but you want one that is, but you're looking to ride it every day, you know, the street riding or commuting like I'm doing this morning, then this bike is perfect. It's the perfect street super sport that you can actually ride on the daily and have an absolute blast on, putting a huge smile on your face for really cheap. And there's plenty of these kicking about, you guys, and a lot of them are in very good condition. A lot of them are fairly low mileage. I mean, this one's less than 30,000 miles, but there are plenty of examples between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds that are even newer than this, and they have half the mileage. But that's the thing, you guys, even if the bike does have what, 30,000-40,000 miles, it'll still be alright, to be honest with you. I mean, I bought this bike with no service history, but I test rode it, it was solid, and yeah, pretty much I was committed to buying it. But there are lots and lots of these bikes that you can get that are even cheaper than this, that are even more expensive than this, and most of them are going to be decent bikes. Because Triumph are more of a luxury brand, their owners do tend to look after them and keep them indoors and things. This is one of those bikes. It's certainly kept indoors for a long part of its life, and a previous owner kept it even though they weren't really riding it, which is why it's got such low mileage. But then, you know, I pick it up and I'm able to thoroughly enjoy it. It's really good, you guys. This bike is epic. It's wicked. It's not too fast, but you've got more than enough power to keep up with any other bike on the road for the most part. You know, it's a step up from a 600. It's even a step up from a 900. So yeah, it's got all that torque. It's got all that peak horsepower with incredible brakes and incredible handling. I mean, the fact that I put on that new exhaust on there and it's much lighter than the old one. Yeah, man, this is just a wicked riding experience. And even though I've changed the gearing on this bike, I don't think it was necessary. Just the stock gearing is fine for the most part. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a gearing mod on this bike, and unless, I don't know, for whatever reason you do need a significant amount of extra torque. I mean, I've lowered the top speed of this bike by a little bit, but increased the 0 to 60 times by a little bit more, so it might be a little bit more practical. But I do find myself getting up into those higher end RPMs more frequently than I used to, simply because I have more access to the power at that top end with the gearing that I've got at the moment, because I've geared it a little bit shorter, so it will, you know, it's easier doing wheelies and stuff like that with this bike. But my goodness, you guys, this is just one of those motorcycles that has gotten under my skin, and I say that about a lot of bikes, but this one, it's my first Triumph, and it's been a fantastic experience. And to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to be this good. Especially considering, you know, we had our ZX9R over 2023, 2024. And that was an amazing bike as well. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought that was one of the best bikes ever. It was 1999. It was an old bike. Well, it had done like 40,000 miles, 35,000 miles or so by the time I sold it. But yeah, it turns out that this one, even though it's a triple, it's got a little bit of extra displacement, a little bit extra top end horsepower, and it feels like quite a chunky amount of extra torque. This was a real surprise to me. But yeah, with those new tyres, you guys, I think it's made it feel just that little bit better. It's just a great bike, and I had the option of keeping it, so I'm keeping it. And considering that I had to deal with the loss of the ZH2, yeah, this is one of those bikes I didn't feel like I had to sell, you know. But, well, now it does get to a point, you guys, where I have to sell the bikes in order to make space for new ones. So, but at this point in time, I didn't feel like I had to do that with this bike. And 2 brand new tyres on the bike, I had to make the most of it, you know. As soon as I scrubbed in those new tyres, and I don't know, I was experiencing the bike again, almost like for the first time. It just made sense to me. And I think that same day, I think it was, I renewed the insurance. The same day I renewed the insurance on this bike. And that was it. That was it. Because if I can, I'll pay for the insurance outright. Because it's not that much. It's less than 200 quid for a bike like this for me. And yeah, that's with no claims bonus, you guys. But just having owned it for a couple of years and having been riding bikes for nearly 20 years. So yeah, I was committed at that point to keeping it. And sometimes I'll do that, you guys. I'll just to and fro, and it's like I had a very similar issue with the H2 as well. I really wanted to keep that bike, but in the end I was like, no, it's a lot of extra finance. I've had the bike for 4 years already. It's time to move on, kind of thing. And my time with the bike, just, I felt like it naturally had come to an end. The last few months of owning it, I rode it maybe only a handful of times. One of those times was quite a long trip, a fairly long trip, going to my my cousin's stag party. But yeah, even at that point, I just felt like my time with this bike has been fulfilled. And you know, even though the H2 was an amazing bike, in so many ways this Daytona here is just as good. No, it's not producing anywhere near as much power or torque. But like I said, you guys, it doesn't all just come down to power and torque. There are so many ways to enjoy a motorcycle. I mean, MT-09 again is a prime example. It's not producing anywhere near as much power as this bike is, or torque even. In fact, it might be producing the same amount of torque. But that bike is quicker than this. In terms of 0 to 60, it's probably at least on par with this bike, if not even quicker than this bike, which is crazy. But yeah, torque and horsepower, you guys, they don't tell the whole story when it comes to the enjoyment and satisfaction of a motorcycle. I mean, they play a part, but you don't have to have crazy power and crazy torque to have an amazing experience on a bike. Power to weight ratio, you know, that's one of those things that is probably quite underrated. Everyone knows about power to weight ratio, but no one really believes it. Everyone sees more displacement, they see a bigger bike, and they automatically see something better than maybe something like this, or maybe something smaller. But I can find enjoyment in so many bikes. Small bikes, big bikes. They all have their place, even for an advanced level rider. And bikes like this, you guys, I haven't been bored of this bike ever since I bought it. And I do go through that process on a lot of the bikes where I stop riding them for a bit. And whereas on some bikes I'll take them out for a ride again, I'll be like, oh, this bike is really good. There's just something different about this bike. This bike, the Daytona, for some reason, it's just, when I rode this bike after prepping it and everything like that, I was just like, I need this bike. It became a need as opposed to a want. And there aren't many bikes that I've had that experience with, at least over that time period where I've already had the bike for a year, and I just, yeah, I didn't have that wave of like, oh my gosh, not depression, but oh man, I don't know how to describe it. It's a really weird feeling, but I never had that thought process of I don't want this bike anymore. The only thought process that went through my head was I need to keep it. And even though the plan was to sell it after a year, because that's usually the plan with a lot of these bikes, I keep them for a year, I ride them, I do videos on them, they serve a purpose, and then I can sell them on. But this bike is more than that, it's more than having a purpose. And that's probably the best way I can describe it. And I don't know, maybe some of you will feel differently about it. Maybe some of you will be like, yeah, I had the same experience on a 929 Fireblade, get one of those. And I would like to get some of the other bikes that were around this time. The Gixxer 750 or even a Gixxer 1000 from Suzuki. The ZX-10R from this period. Yeah, the 929 or a 954 Fireblade as well from this era. Again, they're all bikes, all super sports that I would love to own one day. And I'm sure I will. I will buy one in the next year. I have no doubt. I'll be buying one of those in the next year. But I'll still be having this bike. It won't be replacing this bike. And in fact, it'll be a nice little comparison video as well, you know, two super sport titans of the early 2000s. Which one's better? Because even back then, you could argue that the Daytona here was behind. But I don't know, maybe they weren't as behind as you might think, at least in terms of riding experience anyway. And that's what it all comes back to, you guys, riding experience. That is the most important thing. Specs and performance aside, the riding experience is really all that you should care about. The one thing I can recommend you guys is to buy one. If you're skeptical, or maybe you've owned bikes like this before, but not this bike exactly, you know, you've owned like 900cc class bikes or 1000 bikes from this era, or maybe something a bit more modern. Honestly, buy it. It's low risk. 2 grand, 3 grand, all in, and you can get one of these bikes. And you'll have an absolute blast on it. Genuinely. So I can't recommend this bike enough, you guys. Yes, it's got its slight flaws here and there, but again, when you look at the riding experience, that's what really matters. And this bike delivers on any metric when it comes to the riding experience. But thank you ever so much for joining us on our ride out today. If you've enjoyed it, then please go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any more of the Triumph Daytona here. And we will catch you all in the next video, everyone. You take care. You ride safe.